Hello everybody and welcome to free UFC bet picks. Thanks for tuning into our show today. We are going to be going over the weigh-ins, lightning fast round for you guys. Also have a couple client picks that we'll reveal to you in this video. If you haven't seen our full breakdown video that we did earlier this week of this card, make sure you go check that out. Let's get right into it here. So we've got first up Cosce versus Sasha Palatnikov.
Both looked good. They both had no trouble weighing in. You know, we knew Sasha was going to be taller, but you could really see that at the stare down. But, you know, Cosce probably wants to go in there and put this guy on his butt and ground and pound him. So that low center of gravity is going to be just fine for him, I think. You know, he's in a lot of parlays, so you're hoping for kind of an uneventful weigh-in. You're hoping that just everything goes the way it's supposed to in this one, and it did. So glad to see it. Cosce should cruise here.
Yeah. Next up, we've got Daukaus versus Dustin Schweitzbush.
Really entertaining fight here. Both got, you know, Schweitzbush on a big winning streak coming in. You know, big step up in class for him here. She's got Dustin and I've got Kyle. You know, so I was hoping that Kyle was going to make weight just fine. He's, you know, the much bigger guy here, and he did make weight just fine. It looked, they both looked good. Nice, respectful weigh-ins. You know, rather uneventful, which again is what we're hoping for. What I was hoping for here with, you know, Daukaus being the favorite and being bigger. He made weight just fine. It was good to see.
Yeah, should be a good one there. All right, next up we've got Jouban versus Gooden.
All right, so this is one of the toughest fights to pick. Here's our first client pick that we'll give you today. You know, I can understand why everyone's very high on Gooden, and you know, if he just knocks out Jouban in the first round, I'm going to feel like I missed a super obvious live dog here. You know, they're supposed to be exactly both 6 foot, but Gooden looked a little bit taller than Allen did today. But they both looked in great shape. You know, they both had no trouble weighing in. The client recommendation here would be to live bet Jouban after round 1 if he's still awake.
Still kicking,
yeah. You know, would not be surprised to see Gooden come out there and maybe even get a knockdown in round 1. So, you know, I think if Jouban makes it through round 1, he's going to have the edge in round 2 and 3. And you might see just incredibly, you know, attractive odds for him at that point. So keep an eye on it. You got to make sure you're not back. You got to make sure you hadn't paused previously. You got to make sure you're live and be ready to live bet that one if it looks like a good idea. There's a lot of variables, right? But if Gooden's slowing down at the end of the first round like I expect, I'm gonna hammer that.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our next one here. It is Daniel Rodriguez versus Nicholas Dalby.
Another uneventful weigh-ins. I was a little concerned because these guys were both 2 of the last fighters to weigh in. Rodriguez looked good. He looked in a little bit better shape than normal. He's a little bit more tatted up than normal, so I don't know if that's what did it. But you know, he did look to be in a little bit better shape. You know, he's not like a physical specimen like some of these guys. You know, especially for being kind of a knockout artist and being a good UFC fighter. He, you know, he's just not as shredded as some fighters, right? But he looked a tiny bit just leaner than normal. Dalby looked good like he always does, but we think Rodriguez should cruise here.
Yeah. All right, our next fight is Antonina Shevchenko versus Ariane Lipski.
So Lipski was one of our underdogs that we picked. She had trouble making weight today. She was right at 126.0, you know, right at her limit. She looked quite relieved after she made weight, like really relieved. She was the last fighter to weigh in, even after Mike Perry. I think it's definitely a pass. If you were already really confident in Antonina, then I think you should be even more confident. You know, Lipski didn't look drawn out or lethargic. She didn't have trouble balancing. She didn't have trouble, you know, like you look for a lot of things. You look for how they put on and take off their sweats and their shoes, and like if they have any trouble with balance, how they go up the stairs, how they step on the scale, how they look at stare downs. She looked fine in all those places, but you know, she had a tiny bit of trouble making weight. If you were on the fence, you know, I think it's a pass all day, but Antonina might have a 1% better chance of winning, in my opinion, than she had a couple days ago.
Right.
And Antonina's funny. She is so much like Valentina. She even takes off her sweats the exact same way. They make sure that their sweats don't get inside out, so they like get down at the foot and get the elastic sweat, you know, past their ankle and heel. And she takes off her sweats the exact same way that Valentina does. It's just kind of funny to me.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's enough there.
All right, moving on to our next fight here. It is Joaquin Buckley versus Jordan Wright.
They both looked great. Wright's such a character. He's just laughing, talking to everybody, saying hi to everybody, thanking everybody. He was getting Buckley to laugh a little bit at the stare down. Wright looked a little nervous. He's like bowing and shaking hands, and the Buckley definitely won like the NLP battle, that if you will, neuro linguistics programming, and just like the body language, you could tell that Wright. He didn't look scared, but he's just a little jumpy. He looked so big. We knew he was going to have a height advantage here, but it was more pronounced than I expected. However, Buckley with those ripping body shots, I think it gives him a bigger target. So kind of feel the same way we did a couple days ago. I think this line is super wide. There's a ton of recency bias. But let's remember, Jordan Wright is not undefeated. He lost on the Contender Series to, Hernandez, Hernandez was on PEDs, though. Weed. Only in snowboarding is that a PED. But, that fight became a no contest. But we all, Wright got finished not too long ago. I think Buckley got a guy. You could tell the UFC, they didn't want to give Buckley some murderous wrestler as his next fight. They're giving him another guy that wants to strike, a taekwondo, karate type guy. I think the UFC gave this matchup to both of them and said, hey, let's go have some fireworks.
Yeah.
Wright is no joke, but, definitely got Buckley winning here.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the headline of the preliminary card. It is Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval.
They both looked good. Moreno's very stoic at weigh-ins. Royval was just amped. He was amped weighing in. He was amped at the stare down. Just looks really excited. They both look really ready. These guys are both young. They're both improving. It's such an exciting fight. This should be the third fight on the card, I think.
Yeah.
Such a great fight. I hate to pick against Royval, the Colorado boy, the Nuggets fan, but, sticking with Moreno. But it should be absolutely great fight. Happy that both these guys are coming in ready. No troubles making weight. They both look just healthy and ready to go. Very excited.
Yeah. All right, let's move on to our main card here. Sorry, loading.
That's right. We got Shogun and Paul Craig coming up.
Yeah. Let's go into that one.
So Shogun looked chubbier than I've ever seen him, actually. The last few fights he hasn't been looking that great, as we know. But today he had a tiny bit extra, just flab. Paul Craig looked great. Paul Craig was super intense at the stare down. This was the best stare down of the day by far. Craig got right in his face, and Hua had to kind of put his fist up, in gently in Craig's neck to keep the distance. And then he's putting his hands up like, what are you doing, man? They get separated. Paul Craig tells the guys there, working the event, the UFC employees, says, hey, it's all right. Let me stare this guy down. He gets right back in Shogun's face, like mask to mask, and did not move. It was like, it seemed like an eternity. They were just staring each other down for so long. And finally, Hua had to like grab his arm gently, and kindly tell him like, all right, bro. And then he's like, Hua was just so confused, about what was going through Paul Craig's head. It didn't look manufactured though, Paul Craig looked super ready, just super confident, and Hua did not give a good account of himself at the stare down, at any portion today. We've already got Paul Craig and some parlays, and sprinkled him in another one or two after the stare down. I think Craig's definitely got this one.
Yeah. All right, moving on to our next fight here. It is Katlyn Chookagian versus Cynthia Calvillo.
So they both look good. Calvillo was one of the first fighters to weigh in. Chookagian took a little longer, but didn't look like anything concerning. She had fine energy and everything. Here's another client pick, and this one's different. Most of the time, the client picks we give are like an absolute lock. They're usually plus money or even money, like a pick'em type of odds, but something we're very confident in. Jouban by decision, live bet Jouban after round one. Murata by decision, Tuivasa by KO. Like, these are plus money bets that after the fight, you're like, oh my God, how was that not even more obvious? So this one's a little different. This one's kind of a long shot. You want to sprinkle like a 1/10 of a unit or a 100th of a unit on this. I think this fight could go to a draw for multiple reasons. Both of these women are highly capable of winning a 10-8 round and then losing 2 rounds, or winning 2 rounds and then losing a 10-8 round, right? Like, they're both extremely, like especially Catlin with her striking. She's highly capable of just winning 10 straight minutes in a low volume affair if Calvillo has a hot round one, but then can't finish her. Also, separately, Chookagian is highly likely to get a point taken away for eye pokes. She puts those Dontel Mays, John Jones fingers out there at a frightening level. I'd be very surprised if we don't see Cynthia catch an eye poke. And I think there's a decent chance that we might see a point taken away in this fight, in a very close fight. So, you get that at like 50-1 odds. We've seen more draws lately than once every 50 fights. That's like once every 3 or 4 cards. We're seeing draws more frequently than that recently, or at least at that pace. I think this one's a candidate for that. So it's a weird one, but you heard it here first.
Yeah. All right, next up we've got Mike Perry versus Tim Means, and we called it.
Yeah, we called it. Yeah, we did. Well, yeah, and so, we saw Perry earlier this week eating burritos and cheeseburgers on Instagram, and you assume that means that he's going to be just fine. No.
Pardon our dog.
Sorry. It's the cutest dog in the world, at least. But Perry came in. He was tweeting in the middle of the night that he was having trouble making weight. He was riding the bike. He was in the sauna, and he couldn't He couldn't get a sweat going. He couldn't drop any more weight. So it was concerning. I was wondering if he was even going to make the 176 that he needed to make for this fight to not be called off. The doctors still might call it off tomorrow. Last week we saw 3 fighters miss weight. One of them, Al Hassan, got knocked out in 30 seconds. The other ones, Smolka and Eric Anders, the doctor wouldn't allow them to fight the next day, which was disappointing because we were all over Quinones and Ahoyo. So we already picked Tim Means earlier this week. We told you can't trust Mike Perry. So, but the thing is, you say, well, what about the Mickey Gall fight? He said he wasn't really training for that. He wasn't really sparring for that. And he went in there and beat a ground technician on the ground. Well, look at the weigh-ins. Look at the stare downs from his Mickey Gall fight. He looked really shredded. We're used to Perry having the big traps, the big back muscles. Today, he did not look like that, right? So, sometimes these guys miss weight on purpose and they have a big edge. Israel Adesanya was complaining about that not too long ago, right? Perry did not seem to be in that bucket. He was not super shredded. He did not look a weight class bigger than Tim Means. Quite the contrary. We know Tim Means was way taller than him, right? But Perry wasn't in there just shredded and looking thicker like a stocky little bulldozer. Not at all. He looked soft, unenthusiastic, tiny, all over Tim Means. If he's still plus 125, you need to go pound that. If this fight doesn't get called off, Perry is going to get worked. And, I think he needs to kind of take a look in the mirror after this fight.
Yeah.
We don't like to make light of it. We don't want to further stigmatize it. It's okay to get help.
More than okay.
Yeah, it's more than okay. Men don't like to ask for it specifically, and professional athlete men are notoriously, anti-therapy and things like that. But, Mike Perry would be in a better place, a happier person if he looks into that.
Yeah. Even people who feel like they have everything together benefit from therapy. So especially. Yeah. Yeah.
And for some people, therapy is working out and jogging and he's not even doing those things. He's not doing anything good for him, So, Means, like we said, Perry has a higher ceiling, but Means has a higher floor. And, I don't think, I think Perry's going to be closer to his personal floor than his ceiling in this fight. And I don't really see Perry going in there and starching Means in the first 2.5 minutes. And I think that's his only chance.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here to our co-main event of the evening, Valentina Shevchenko versus Jennifer Maia.
They both look great at weigh-ins. Valentina is just such a calm, confident, deliberate, just, machine. If there was a news story that came out and said, breaking news, a UFC fighter is, they're actually a hitman, and we just found this out, I would guess Valentina. If you told me that she, is a professional hitman, I would not be surprised at all. She's just so icy. She doesn't blink. When she's staring down Maia, she legit doesn't blink. Maia looked good though. She looked a little trimmer than she did in the Jojo Calderwood fight. So I think we're going to see a great version of her. But, Valentina should absolutely roll here. Really excited to see her.
Yeah. All right, and our main event here, Davison Figueiredo versus Alex Perez.
Oh, gosh, we've heard, Figueiredo walks around at like 165, fights at 125. That's about a fourth of his weight that he cuts on fight week. And, maybe not on fight week, but, usually on fight week, he's got at least 20 pounds. He's usually around 145, cutting down to 125. Well, we heard earlier this week that he was looking much smaller than that. He was much closer to his weight than a normal Monday before fight week. And today he looked great. At the stare down, he was not himself a little bit, though. He looked a little just like jumpy, a little antsy. He tried getting Perez to flinch. I don't know what to make of it. He didn't look like, it didn't look like a lack of confidence or anything. And I don't know. I wonder if he's just trying to be a little bit entertaining. He's getting so much shine now, right? So I don't know what to make of it. I don't think it's concerning, but it was a little out of character for him today at the stare down, trying to he was doing like some Mike Perry stuff. Not at that level, but he was doing a little bit of Mike Perry type stuff today. Don't know what to make of it, but he looked great. We were just so hoping that he was going to have a problem-free, uneventful weight cut. He appears to have done so. Super excited about it. Thumbs up on Figgy. Parlay him.
Yeah, all right. I think that's a wrap for our lightning round post-weigh-in intel there. We got the client picks for you in this video, and make sure you smash the like and
get your bell rung, turn on those notifications, and we appreciate you guys. We work hard on this. Help it grow. Tell your friends. Just the subscribing, turning on the notifications. That helps more people see the channel when they search for UFC 255 weigh-ins or UFC 255 bet picks. So we appreciate all of your guys' support very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you guys in the next video. Enjoy the fights.